Thank you very much, gentlemen. What a way to start the day for the Chinese squad here. Just a very, very clean game out of them, an accelerated early game, obviously. I mean, talking about the first 6 minutes there.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely nuts. But before we get into the game itself, let's go ahead and take a little bit of a look at Champion Select.
Yeah, I like everything EDG did in this Champ Select, but I have a lot of issues with iNTZ's way of drafting here. I think Jace Alistar makes sense if you actually want to flex the Jace and potentially put him mid against Syndra, rush a Hexdrinker, and then pick an early game jungler. You can actually bully the Syndra quite a bit, and you can have a strong lane then. So what I think actually they should have done, if we run down the list, is Skarner. I don't even know why you picked
Elise was on the board is the thing, because they could have gotten rid of some of their early game weaknesses if they picked that. But then even with the Skarner, the biggest problem I have with the draft here is the way they played the game around it. Contesting an early blue buff invade when you're weaker with every champion on that side of the map, to me is inexcusable.
Well, I mean, just picking the Skarner in the first place is not okay here because Tahm Kench is already picked. So you can only use ulti on Skarner if Tahm Kench is not there or on the Tahm Kench itself. And that is definitely not what you want from this jungle pick. And when you then pick the Vladimir as the counter into Syndra, you give up mid lane pressure. When you then also give jungle pressure by taking the Skarner, you now have a losing part of the map in the middle. Your bot lane is going to get pushed in as well. That gives you 2 losing lanes instantly in terms of getting pushed to tower. And that means you can't play early game at all in this meta. And I think they could have gone like Jace mid, Elise jungle, Ken in top lane. You had 2 winning solo laners, or stronger solo laners, and a good early game jungler instead.
And Jat, you're talking about early game uh-ohs for iNTZ in terms of contestation, but that also means early game dominance for EDG, and I want to take a look at that, brought to you by Acer here. This is a string of replays that accumulated what was a 3K gold lead within the first 6 minutes of the game.
And specifically, this speaks to Revolta's mind not being in the right place, because they should not have tried to contest this blue buff. Once EDG made the move to roam 4 people there, you have to give it up. You're picking losing lanes for the late game scaling. The only thing that's going to screw you over is if the other team can crush you in the early game, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and this play here is so beautiful. They get the mid lane push around the Syndra pick. They go bot instantly. Skarner is nowhere around. They actually just saw him recall, and it's just so smooth, so clean. They didn't have to work for it at all. 6 minutes, already 3 kills up, and here we see the dive again.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it all starts from the draft with these mid lane getting pushed in, bot lane getting pushed in for the dives. Now, after you've gotten such a big advantage, you can start roaming. They can go top lane to the one winning lane iNTZ did have, which was top. Yang got killed here. Big advantage all across the map for EDG.
Yeah, and the tragic thing for me here about iNTZ is they were down 7,000 gold or 3,000 gold at 7 minutes. They were down 4,000 gold at 20 minutes. So they could have actually stalled out to get Vladimir into teamfight phase if they were just willing to concede some of their objectives, but they weren't.
Right, yeah. It wasn't until that 23-minute mark where we saw that tier 2 in the bot lane finally go down. That seemed to be the catalyst for EDG to start blowing the game wide open. And if there would be a criticism that you would throw at EDG, it was maybe perhaps the fact that they couldn't balloon that 3K as quick or any quicker. But still, that's me struggling to find a way to criticize them in a very clean game.
Exactly, and the way the game works, obviously, between like 10 and 25 minutes, it is very difficult to snowball even further because diving tier 2 towers is very hard with the support also like Tahm Kench, who's a more defensive support and not necessarily an Alistar who would dive in and just tank the tower for you. Also, you can't really rush a Baron because it's not alive for most of that time, and when it finally is alive, you want to give it a few minutes, you want to be a little bit stronger, and you don't want to risk losing a Baron fight. Funny things, though, when we talk about Baron fights, that was kind of the one moment for iNTZ to get back. They butchered that fight as well. But it's also the moment where Revolta used his first Skarner ulti. 32 minutes into the game.
We did it.
Not what you want to hear.
Definitely
that should not be the highlight of your analyst desk segment as a team. But I do want to push this to player of the game here, going to Scout this time around. And Clement, let's talk a little bit about the differences between Scout and Pawn, because this team has looked fabulous with Scout, especially with those roams to the side lane and on Syndra.
Yeah, exactly. They drafted it on really well. They know they were going to get the pushing mid lane. They were willing to give the counter pick over there, and he just moves other lanes so much faster. I think a big point about him being the key player of the game is that he got so many picks underneath the turret. Those stuns were really amazing. You saw 3 balls going out, and he's stunning 2-3 people at the same time and slowing them down. He got a quadra kill that game, so I think it has to go to him.
And just real quickly, Jat, looking forward, I think for iNTZ, this might be tough mentally to suffer a loss at the very beginning of the day, but we have to remember that, yeah, sure, you beat them in week 1. EDG is the team that's expected to come out #1 seed here. It has to be about heads held high and looking towards those H2K and AHU games later in the day.
Yeah, they're 1-3, so the scenarios in which they get out of the group are getting slimmer and slimmer every game they play. But yes, they absolutely need to get in the mindset that they can play a normal game and win, because when I saw that game, especially in the early game, they were trying to hit home runs from the 3-minute mark, and they are actually better than that. They don't have to play that way, and that's how they'll beat AHQ and H2K if it happens.
All right, well, we're just getting started here today. When we come back, AHQ takes on H2K. You're watching Worlds 2016.
Take that look from off your face, 'cause you ain't never gonna burn my heart out.
Oh, there is no way they're getting out of this one. Only flash from Macau, and he's gonna go down! Unleash the power, level 6. He's gonna burn it now, but Mako and Scout and Deft are right on top of him. Throws down the hammer. Deft gets eaten up, saves his life! And that's a double kill for Scout. They just keep on going. Talkers, he's trying for more. EDG take down iNTZ.